3 Cyclones taken in the first 3 rounds for the first time ever. Iowa. So I have 4 guys because Jalen Travis goes as well on Saturday. Iowa State's offensive lineman. 5 Hawkeyes taken. Really, the story here is that 3 Iowa State wide receivers are now on the Houston Texans. This is really a compliment to, I think, Xavier Hutchinson and Matt Campbell. So the Texans take him a couple years ago, and then they're like, man, we like him so much, we're going to take 2 other wide receivers from your school because we've had that good of an experience with you.
This is like something you would do in a video game. Like
these guys are best friends and roommates.
You start calling the same play over and over again because it just works. You start drafting guys from the same college just for the hell of it, just because you like them. Might as well stick with it. It doesn't happen that way, but this did. Now, Hutchinson, did he play with Noel at Iowa State a few years ago? That's what I thought.
Yep, because Noel was on that. Yeah, yep.
And Williams, do you remember this when X did a pod with Cyclone Fanatic? He had Jalen on for an interview.
He did, yeah. X was we had a big NIL deal. X hosted a podcast on Cyclone Fanatic. Did you know that, Hassel?
No.
Yeah, he's a great kid. Or he's a grown man now.
Kyle and Ryan are saying they don't think Hutchinson will be a part of the Texans
we'll see.
next season.
I've seen that, but I don't.
Is he a free agent?
No. There was some thoughts that because they drafted so many wide receivers that X could be one of the guys to get cut. We'll see. I don't know. I don't know enough about it, but still, if you had a bad situation with this guy, you're not going to just go draft more guys from the exact same program.
Sure.
He's
under contract for 2 more years.
Yeah, he's
making about $1 million a year. Look, Iowa State had a great draft, and I know you're going to get into this a little bit more in your Triple B, Williams. This is as good as I've ever seen it, and I think it probably is the best draft in Iowa State history. I mean, yeah, a couple years ago you had your first rounder, but this was 3 guys on day 2, 3 guys before Iowa even had 1, right? I think all 3 of these guys were taken before Caleb Johnson.
Let's jump in and do our Triple B real quick. Kelderman Manufacturing, bigger, better, bolder.
Bigger, better, bolder. Built by Kelderman Manufacturing.
I just ran the numbers last night because of all the things Matt Campbell's done, like to me, I think his biggest legacy is he's made Sundays interesting to me as a Cyclone because there's just so many guys playing. I remember when I first started Cyclone Fanatic, like I would do this Cyclones in the NFL column. And it was like, Tuba Rubin played 4 snaps. Like there was nothing. Like it was just so bare.
It's like, Gary Michelson has now been moved up to the scout team at Jacksonville.
Scott Docterman actually just put this list out of all of the current Iowa State football players in the NFL, UFL, CFL, guys who are still like in camp too, weren't drafted, but guys that
that's
have
a
shot
good list, Doc. Yeah. So I just did the draft picks, which isn't as telling as what you're looking at right there. But so in 17 years, Dan McCarney and Paul Rhodes produced 17 NFL draft picks. In 8 years, Matt Campbell has produced 15. And a lot more higher end guys.
Well, I think that's the key with this one. This year was different because, you might have had Hutchinson and Butler, and Hutchinson went pretty late in the draft. But now these guys, and look, give credit to what Hutchinson's done and what Alan Lazard, who went undrafted, has done throughout his career. Now they're like, these guys are good. Like Brock Purdy, the last pick of the draft, good. Like you can start using high-end draft picks on these guys because they have proven that they can be really good in the NFL. And that's the key here is that the 2 Higgins almost made the first round. Knoll in there as well. I just think it's NFL teams are now realizing that these guys, they're not just, backups. Like, these guys can be really good starters in the NFL.
All right, so Iowa's draft. Higgins goes undrafted. I didn't see that coming. I mean, what a shocking. Tell me that a year ago, I never would have believed that was even possible.
The whole thing was bizarre for Iowa because you had Higgins, Castro, and Harris all go undrafted. Like, you tell me that a year ago, I would not have believed any of it. Like, Jamari Harris, he's the guy who opted out with 2 games left in the regular season to go prepare for the draft. And he doesn't get picked. Castro was like, it looked like at the end of his second to last season, he looked like he was budding into a star. And we know how good and consistent Higgins was throughout his career. I have no doubt that Higgins is going to find his way onto a team. I can't imagine him not making it. Just as good of a teammate as he is, as good as he does just about everything. Look, he's not going to test off the charts, but he was a great Iowa linebacker, and it's just such a bizarre draft. Like, Iowa had how many drafted? Did Iowa have 5 players drafted, something like that? But they were all 4 of the 5 were late. It's pretty rare for Iowa to have a draft like this, and I'm not sure what happened. Iowa's defense. All 3 of those guys that I mentioned were on defense, and that defense did take a step back last season. I think maybe 2 steps back last season. Like, that was not an Iowa defense. And all 3 of those guys were involved, but those were maybe the 3 best players. I don't know about Castro, but Higgins and Harris, absolutely. I mean, those might have been the 2 best players on that Iowa defense last year. And
did you get any feedback on Harris when you were doing all your pre-draft stuff as far as like is that a trend? Like, do we not like, because I think more of these guys are going to do what he did. Well, maybe not if they are required and actually have contracts in the future where you can just quit essentially and be like, I'm going to focus on the draft.
Yeah.
Does that impact the way you're viewed? Unless you're like an elite guy.
This is just like we talked about with Shedeur Sanders and all the baggage that he has. If Shedeur Sanders was graded as a top 5 pick, you can overlook all that other stuff.
Yeah.
But he wasn't. Mm-hmm. And Jamari Harris just wasn't looked at as, if you're not looked at as a top 3-4 round pick, then you start looking into it. Okay, well, that's just a notch against you. That's a reason why maybe you're not going to get drafted late, is because you opted out of the final 2 games. That's only going to be used against you. And yeah, I don't know how it goes in the future. I hope things like this stop.
Mm-hmm.
I hope that there's some kind of a contract that would prevent something like this happening, but I don't think it's possible. Because even Harris, when he opted out of those 2 games, there was some kind of they attached some kind of a medical thing to it. I don't know, something about I can't remember what it was, a screw or what have you. These guys are always going to be able to find a way out, because how the hell do you know if his hamstring's too tight, I hope that things like this might be a lesson to others, because look, he could have added more tape. He could have done some special things down the stretch that changed things for his draft report. How they scouted him. They didn't have those 2 extra regular season games and the bowl game against Missouri. Now, QC Hawk said he had shoulder surgery, had a legit reason. I think that was something that could have been delayed a month. And I understand you want to get right
There's a lot
all the stuff
to it, but I would make the argument now, if they're
But everything
being
I heard
paid
said
by
he,
the
he
university.
could have been. It's kind of like the Owen Freeman thing. He could have still played.
Yeah.
Probably would have if things were going okay.
Yeah, and if you were a sophomore.
Mm-hmm. But
again, like going forward, if you're on our payroll. Last year you weren't on our payroll. Last year there was some third-party collective paying you. You are on our payroll. You are. They won't call it this, but you are an employee of the University of Iowa.
yeah, you should be. Yeah.
And your job is to go out and try and win football games. It has to change. Like it. You
I
have
sure
to
hope
play in
so.
the bowl game. You have to. It's what you're being paid for.
You're just never going to be able to police that kind of stuff.
And
because
it's revenue share. It's not name, image, and likeness. There's a
right.
difference.
But what do we always hear, especially in football, toward the end of the year? Nobody's 100%. So, you're sitting there at 85%, and you've got nothing to play for. You feel like you've got nothing to play for, and you just want to get ready for that next step. You're not going to go out there and push yourself, and they're not going to be able to make you.
Well, on the other hand, too, I don't know this for a fact, but I'm pretty sure that Jalen Noel playing in the bowl game and having 3 touchdowns or whatever he did helped his cause.
I don't think there's any doubt that helped his guy.
Because he looked
I don't know
like
by how
for
much,
sure,
but
5th, 6th, 7th.
that
round
that
guy.
probably got him into the second day.
Yeah.
Probably would have been a third day guy without that. But at the same time, didn't hurt Higgins, right?
Nope.
I mean, I don't see how, even if he had a 3 touchdown
Shit, he was
game,
almost a first round
yeah.
pick.
I don't know how he could have been drafted any higher than that. So it's different for everybody, but I don't know how we change that.